and thank you all for joining me in this journey to the artificial era. Recently, I published this book in Spanish, and hopefully we are going to have soon the translation in English. The book is entitled Artificial Era, Predictions for Ultrahumans, Robots, and Other Intelligent Entities. So just let me give you a brief overview of the insights of the book. I hope you enjoy this talk, and of course, if there are questions, we can answer them at the end, or you can put it in the chat. Thank you. All right. So the art of prediction is actually an ancient one, and we can see this in many cultures. For example, in China, they were used to read bones, signs and bones. In Africa, prediction was linked to supernatural powers from people getting into a special state. The Greeks had priestesses and priests forecasting the future. The Incas had the Huacas also. They were some kind of priests, and so on and so forth. So we see different prediction methods, and with the time and technology, they change a little bit from some special connections to intuition, to imagination, knowing history, identifying patterns, and also using some statistical and computational models, including artificial intelligence. And the beings that are able to predict the future also have better chances to survive. So prediction is very important. And of course, it's a very difficult task because we can sometimes not imagine what we don't know. And therefore, the future may be very, very hard to predict. I thought that we actually live in a kind of surreal world. And I was just thinking of Salvador Dali. He is one of the greatest representatives of surrealism. He said himself he was a surrealism itself. And if you remind his paintings, there are things that are impossible, yet they're possible in the painting. It challenges physics. His paintings look like dreams, and when asked, he never gave an explanation. So he just said those paintings were there. So no real explanation for their paintings, no symbols, nothing that he wanted to really communicate. And this era that we are living and that started a couple of 100 years ago is really surreal. So we see large development, great progress in some areas, but at the same time we see strange things happening, like large gaps in health, education, genre, civil rights, and so on and so forth. So from one side, we see great technological progress thanks to technology, and there are some people that enjoy these technological advances and innovations like we at this precise moment. This conference is only possible thanks to technology, and we are able to connect from many places around the world. But of course, there are other things that are completely bizarre, surreal. Just maybe half of the population of the world has a computer at home. So imagine how strange is this world that we are living in. If we analyze a little bit the technological revolutions, we see that this is an analysis from Carlota Perez, and she analyzed the revolutions from the 1772, and she said that usually there is an installment period. So this is what she calls a Big Bang, and new technologies appear. There is a lot of enthusiasm, and there is a prosperity bubble. So many people is investing in these new technologies. But then we reach a point which is a recession. And this recession could last for several years until you see a golden epoch. So technology is really coming to force. But after this golden epoch, there is kind of a saturation, and you have a maturity of all technologies. Some social progress occurring also in this period, but then another wave is happening. So another eruption of technologies will occur, and then she has studied that again these patterns of IBREM will occur. So eruption, prosperity bubble, recession, a golden epoch, and maturity. Carlota Perez says that we are already in the 4.5 wave. So we would be at this moment in this turning point, in this critical point, and could last for many years. So the analysis of the industrial or technological revolutions, we can say that they started, we didn't need anymore the power of our body to move things. So we have the steam engine. And then many other innovations start occurring, like, for example, jacquard looms, which also had rejection from the English artisans, but we also see railroads between cities. In 1830, we have electricity. In 1850, we have oil and refined gasoline, so we could move cars as well. And at that time, global telegraphy was the internet. They had this communication with telegraphy. In 1940, we have the continuous production lines. We have the radio, and so on and so forth. As you can see, in 1946, we have affordable penicillin prices. So there is also a health revolution with so many advances for our health. In 1947, we have general purpose computers. We have other advances in health, like first in vitro fertilization. We have the commercial cell phone that is kind of an aleph in our hand, so we can get access to information instantly, and we can have this conversation with you through your cell phone, which was some years ago impossible. And then in 1989, internet was public use. Then another innovation was iPhone. And here in 1999, we see that artificial intelligence was finally able to perceive and recognize handwritten digits. This is very important for artificial intelligence, because even though this research era was kind of grounded in 1950s, it needed some years to develop the algorithms to be able to perceive, which is a very important task for intelligent beings. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to have autonomous vehicles. And of course, in 2016, there was this big news about AlphaGo defeating the Go champion. Imagine that in 2017, there was a robot who was granted the citizenship. So imagine if the robot would kill someone, he would be reliable for doing that. So we would think, what is the role of giving the citizenship to a robot? Another important technology is gene editing that changes the structures in living beings. And the committees were discussing if this technology should be or not, should not be applied. And there was already an experiment, and 2 twins were born with edited genes. Even though the person was fired from his position, this experiment cannot be undone. We also see that we will enjoy great advances with 3D printed hearts. So there is already a prototype, and probably soon they will implant into human beings. And what we have now is this globally monitored pandemic, not seen before. So we can know how many people are getting infected in India, in Brazil, in the UK, and we have these numbers worldwide available. And so we are in this turning point, which is critical. Why is this so important that intelligent algorithms defeated the world champion in Go? Actually, artificial intelligence already defeated the world champion in chess, and also in this game called Jeopardy. But Go is a game which is a strategic game, and it was thought that because of the number of possibilities to compute, it was impossible to compute with algorithms until the group of DeepMind used deep learning and reinforcement learning to create this program. And after this this event happened, Vladimir Putin said that the countries that dominate the technology, AI technology, they will dominate the world. So I think after that, many countries started developing artificial intelligence strategies. And this is very interesting. So the interest in the technology skyrocketed. There were a lot of investments, and because of good reasons, it was proven that these algorithms were flexible and robust enough to perform different tasks, which are considered to be intelligent. So we now are going to evaluate what is intelligence and how do we humans measure intelligence. We could say that there is a test that measures how you find patterns. And this is a widely used test called Raven matrix. And it's thought to be independent of culture and language, so it should be an abstract test that any culture could take. And this test is related to, for example, your capacity in memory. So this test can predict how well you will do in other intelligence tests, like memory or spatial capacity, and so on and so forth. So it's a very well used test. And as you can see, the idea is that you discover what is the shape that will come in this kernel with the question mark. And then you have to think and say, okay, the pattern here perhaps is a pattern that is going through columns. And then you see the shapes here with a certain orientation, and you see that their pattern, the shapes here have another orientation, and then you could guess what is the pattern that corresponds here. In this case, this is the simplest level where you have only one pattern occurring. And then you would have a next level where you have two patterns occurring. In this case, you would also have to guess what is the shape coming in this corner. So please grab a piece of paper and try to draw what you think it's going to be the shape here, if you can find these two patterns occurring. And the same would happen in level 3. So you would have to draw in a piece of paper what you think it's going to be the shape in this corner, thinking that perhaps here it's a more complex task, and then you have 3 patterns occurring. Well, after the talk, you of course can give your answers. We're just going to analyze together. And as you would imagine, the first result in the corner was this shape, right? Because it's changing in columns the diagonal. But in the second level, we are combining in these diagonal colors. As you can see, here we have black, here you have gray, white, and then here you would have another color, right? Would be black. And then you are combining also this diagonal where you have the shapes orientated in this diagonal. So you will find this pattern like that in level 2. And in level 3, we have a combination of 3 patterns occurring. So in this diagonal, we have colors, as you can see. And then we have the orientation of the shapes that are changing per columns. And then you have this another diagonal. And then you will find that this shape is occurring here. So what do you think was the result between humans and machines? Would humans be better at finding patterns than machines? We'll see what happened in the results. Humans were much better than machines by 17 points. So humans were able to recognize simple patterns much better than machines. But in a second level of complexity, humans and machines had the same performance, while at the third level, humans had a much lower performance than machines. So these results are very interesting. The question is, why is this happening? Is this really something telling us about our capacity to spot easily patterns, but when things get complex, then machines are better than we are? Well, it's difficult to really say, but of course, we also could think that this test is not measuring other capabilities of intelligent beings. This machine would not be able to perform socially well, for example. And yes, if we consider that the Raven test does not really measure how social you are, and social is very important for intelligent beings. In tests that they did about theory of mind is this capacity for you to understand the intentions of others. They tested human babies of 2.5 years against chimpanzees of different ages and orangutans. And in social tests, actually in theory of mind, as I said, this capacity to know what is the intention of others, human babies did much better than chimpanzees and orangutans. And so researchers thought that actually this capacity of social skills, it's a very well developed in our species. And therefore, if we want to develop intelligent machines in the future, we would have to think a little bit more on what is the social skills of machines if they are really going to be as intelligent as we are. What we can say for now is that humans have some capabilities and machines have other capabilities that overlap at some point, but we have so far other capabilities that machines do not have, and therefore we can exploit these differences to have a greater capacity to do any task. It could be creativity, it could be pattern finding if we want to, it could be decision making, and so on and so forth, in sports and anything that we would like to do. If we enter into this more special topic, then what happens if machines really become as intelligent as we are and somehow they develop some consciousness? What would that happen for us in that case? Well, consciousness, it's a very controversial topic. There are many theories about consciousness, so it's really difficult to say what consciousness really is. Just thinking of René Descartes, he said that I think, therefore I am. But actually neurologists think that we are conscious even before thinking, and we can be conscious as babies, or other animals are also conscious, and being conscious is having an experience. So for example, we would think that we get this state of awareness not necessarily by thinking. There is a yogi that practices mindfulness since 3 decades, and he describes this. The substance and intention of the universe come from a deeper reality than the material one we normally perceive with our minds and senses. And that reality is consciousness, an all-pervading blissful awareness inherent in everybody and everything. So actually, we would think then consciousness is not something that we can comprehend, and we would just have to feel consciousness. And consciousness can be in many things, in many states, right? So we could also think then that machines could have some kind of consciousness, but we don't really have seen machines awaken to our world yet. So when I asked people in artificial intelligence communities what they think about the impact of the technology in the short term and also in the long term, would that be a good impact, a very good impact, or just very bad impact? So some predict that artificial intelligence could be our last invention, but others think that we can control this technology and we can apply different aspects to this technology. So what I found is most practitioners are pragmatic, so they are aware that technology is a very good tool, but if we do not act on the results, then we can see the gaps going even farther and farther for those that can take advantage of technology against those that are behind that. And so this is the book. Unfortunately, the English version is still under review. If you speak Spanish or German, you will be able to then read through it. But I hope that we will have this book soon. And I invite you to visit my webpage, as I will be announcing there when the book will be available. So with that, I think I finished presenting. And if you would like to ask some questions, and I'll be glad to answer those. And Jasmine says, very interesting. Oh yeah, thank you. I hope that I can give you the book soon. Yes, all the studies are in the book, and they're in Spanish, so you can access all the information in the book, which is already in my webpage. I'm going to copy the link. And yeah, the book is, as I said, under review, and I hope in a couple of months I'm going to have the version. But I usually post updates in my Facebook page, so you can also get some notification if you would like to. Thank you very much. If there are any other questions, I would love to answer them. Oh, thank you very much. I'm very glad that you liked the presentation. What are the prerequisites for starting a journey in AI and algorithms? What about mathematics, and how can someone master them to grow up in AI and algorithms for prediction? Yeah, well, I will stop sharing my screen. Well, AI is a long journey, as you mentioned, Akil. And one thing is perhaps reading some books on artificial intelligence. My book gives a brief overview on what artificial intelligence is, but you can also find a lot of information online. There are courses which are free and available, so you can book them on the internet. And mathematics, of course, you need a lot of linear algebra programming. You would need statistics. So you would need all this background to understand the algorithms. So it's a great idea to study mathematics or statistics because you are just very close to the field. I hope I could answer your question. Oh, okay. Thank you, Nevena. She said she saw the presentation, but she joined a little bit later. Okay, thank you very much for the nice comments. And I'm very thankful to all of you that arrived to the presentation. And as I said, I hope that soon we will have the English version. And thank you. Also, someone was asking where to start. In my webpage, I have a blog. So there I put some books which are really good to read, to start reading, and then you can get a feel. Mariana says, do you think ethics is affected with artificial intelligence? Well, that's something that I should have touched in the presentation. And ethics is a very important topic in artificial intelligence because it's about what we consider good or not to do. And also in the book, there is a study that shows that cultures react very different to many things. So at some point, machines will have to decide about what to do with certain things. And for example, autonomous vehicles will have to take decisions in a crossroad if they have to prefer to spare on the person who's riding the car or spare the person who didn't see the green light and just walked through. What would the car do? Would the car stop or just go through? And the AI will have to decide, perhaps taking into account what every culture thinks what should be done. What should be done. So artificial intelligence and ethics is a very, very important topic. Yes. How emotions are affected by AI? Well, artificial intelligence is being used for emotion recognition, for example. So there are some studies on, for example, faces, and they can recognize your face and they can intuit your mood, if you're happy, if you're sad. So, for example, they could recommend music for you to put you in a better state. And some time ago, I worked in a company who was kind of a little Spotify called Mood Agent, and they try to recognize what is your mood and how can you improve, for example, doing sports by good recommendations. So emotions can be affected by music, and AI can suggest perhaps the songs that will put you in a better mood to work, in another mood to go shopping, in another mood to having a conversation with your friends, and so on and so forth. So AI can be used in that scenario. Are you going to do another session? Also, can you please provide the link to your blog? Oh, sure. Just give me a second. If I go to my page, I'm just going to share the screen so you also can find where you can find that. And so this is my website. So if you go to works and then you go to projects, I have here my blog, and then you will find there, for example, what are the best courses to learn artificial intelligence, 2 books that every AI engineer should know, and other things. But maybe these 2 links are relevant, and I'm going to copy this into the chat so that you can read what is relevant to start. Maybe that's a good guide to start in artificial intelligence. Okay. Well, I hope we have another meeting, another conversation. If there are no more questions, then thank you very much to the organizers for having me here, and stay well. How to link emotions with AI? Yeah, Jogesh, as I said, there are some tools to identify your mood. It could be from facial expressions. It could be from music that you're listening, for example. And then machine learning can recognize what is your state, your mood, and they can suggest things. For example, if you're listening to music, music is a great tool to induce mood. So they can suggest you music that will help you to put you in the state you would like to. For example, if you would like to perform in a sport, and then they would put music that will help you to concentrate or to stay brave before your competition. Or if you would like to, for example, work and be concentrated, or if you want to go shopping, and they will put your music that is more relevant to you. All right. So thank you very much. If you want to contact me, please send me a LinkedIn connect. Okay. I have some LinkedIn an email. So just send me the LinkedIn, and we can get in touch. Okay. See you. Please send me a LinkedIn. Then I will connect you. I have a lot of requests. So contact me through LinkedIn, or just drop me an email. Bye-bye.